What's up, guys? Welcome to the Resars podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. Today, we're going to do a live Q&A of how to build your ideal resale business. We're going to go as long as it takes. And part of it is going to be available on patreon.com/the Resars podcast. The first part of the conversation will be on YouTube for free. And we have like 30 episodes now in the Patreon group, and it's been going awesome. And our Facebook group is very active. So join us on there. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat and we'll get straight into it. Tech, how's it going? How's your day?
Doing all right, man. Just living the dream.
So do you have a question you want to start with?
Anyone, it don't matter.
Okay. So someone had asked about where to put the custom SKU. This is maybe a good place to start. How do you keep track of, you have 30,000 items? Do you have a custom SKU? Do you use that? How do you keep track of your stuff?
I don't use the custom SKU. That was implemented after I started on eBay. They didn't have a slot for that on the listing. But I think the third bar down on the eBay listing does say custom SKU. So I imagine that's where most people put it. But when I started eBay, there was no place to enter a custom SKU. So as a lot of people know, my inventory is sorted on racks by category, by color, and then by date. So I think the custom SKU probably, you put it on the third line of the eBay listing.
Yeah, it's right below subtitle.
Yep.
In the mobile app, it's in the item specifics, and it's the very last row. So it's hard to find on the mobile app. It's not convenient at all. It should be under the title like it is on the desktop version. And one of the biggest time hacks I can tell you guys is use the computer. There's very, very few people who list a lot of items and use their phone. It's good for 10 to 15, but not for more
Yeah,
than that.
since you brought up item specifics, probably I got an email from eBay today that said if your item specifics aren't filled out for the required ones by February 22nd, that those items that are missing item specifics will not be relisted. So those are just going to end and maybe disappear. They might go to your ended folder or your unsold folder, but those are not going to auto relist. So everyone has February 22nd to get those done. I have about 1,000 left. I did like 400 today. And I don't know why they can't just do it for us, because when you go through the thing, it already knows what's supposed to be there. So I don't know why I can't just fill it out and make that part a little easier. But we have to do it manually, and it has to be done by February 22nd, or else those listings could potentially disappear.
That is great advice. So, we have about 20 days left. So do about 5% of your store a day. Don't overwhelm yourself. Get in there. Maybe do 10% a day so that you can get it done in time. And it's important to update those item specifics. Most of the time it's only one or two drop downs. Don't panic. It's not
And
so
inside
much.
Seller Hub on the left-hand side underneath where it says items awaiting shipment, one of those things between items awaiting shipment and your return request will say items that are missing item specifics. If you click on there, it has a tool set up where you can do a bulk edit from there.
I got a lot of questions about how I edit my photos. So I'm going to talk about that in the paid section of this call. So you guys will have to join on Patreon to listen to how I do the photo process. But even though my photo process is really fancy, it's not as efficient as the way you do your photos, which is very straightforward. And there's been a lot of questions on how you take photos. So maybe you can just outline that process.
Like you said, it's nothing fancy, and it's really the old-fashioned way. Nothing has changed or deviated since how I started the entire process when I was solo, doing 120 items every single day. I do flat lays. I use a digital camera. I have items on my right-hand side that need to be photographed. They get photographed in front of me and then form a pile on the left-hand side. Again, just use a digital camera, nothing fancy at all. I then take that stack to the computer and then put my memory card into the computer, upload straight to the eBay listing from the memory card. So, I think maybe almost a blessing that I've been at it for so long, because there was no airdrop. There was no listing from cell phones. There was no eBay app. So like the way I do it is the most simplest way, because that was the only way that you could do it back then. So I'm a little bit thankful I didn't get tripped up into any of that stuff. But again, it's just straightforward camera and memory card.
Your mic is rubbing a little bit on your collar, but I want to just point out how important it is to talk about how straightforward the photo transfer is. When you plug in a memory card and load into the listing from the memory card, they are in order, and there's you don't need to mess with them. You need to set up your system so the photos upload in order. If not, it'll get frustrating. You want to make it as easy as possible to list.
Yeah, and you said you had a huge problem with airdropping not in order.
Yeah.
So if your photos are not in order, that's an entire mess. Because I think for us, we probably take whatever 10 times two, we take 2,500 photos per day,
Yeah.
and I could not imagine arranging those in the proper order as a dedicated step before I started listing. So, the memory card, pretty straightforward. You plug it into the computer, and everything's in order, nice and neat.
A lot of people ask why their photos are rotated a certain direction. So your orientation on your phone is set up like a normal camera. So it's set up to be taken in landscape mode, which is the hamburger way. So if you're taking pictures with the hot dog way up and down, the photos will be rotated 90 degrees. And that's going to be an even bigger barrier because now you need to rotate the pictures and they're out of order. There's no way that you're going to consistently list. That's too much work.
Um, Mozilla Firefox version 76.0.1 puts them in the correct orientation because it doesn't have EXIF data on that browser. So I use Firefox 76.0.1. You have to Google it. It's an older version of Firefox. But if you have that version, they'll go in right side up because, again, that could be an entire process itself trying to get everything the proper orientation.
And it will take you at least half a day to change anything in your setup. So be patient. I get emails saying, I spent 20 minutes on trying to set up my printer. It's like, you've got 3.5 hours more. The first 20 minutes is nothing. The first 20 minutes trying to set something up, you just figured out what pieces you need to put together. It takes a long time. You might have to call customer service. You might have to call a friend. You might need a beer. It's not easy to set up any part of your system, but once it's done, it's done. Don't do any more updates. Don't change anything. You don't need to fix it if it's not broken. And every time there's a software update, it will mess up your system.
And that's how I figured out that Firefox 76.0.1 of photos in the correct orientation. Laptop broke. I got a new computer, and with the new computer came a new version of Firefox, and all the photos were uploaded all kinds of different directions. And literally, it took me a half a day to figure out that I needed to revert back to that browser that was working for me on my old computer. But like you said, whenever you set up a printer, whenever you do something different, it's going to take time to adapt with your business. So I'm a firm believer in redundancy. So my printer, I have 3 of the same printers that I use here at the warehouse. I have one that's brand new, unused. I have another one that's brand new, unused. All the computers are the same. All the software is the same. All the cameras are the same. All the memory cards are the same. Every single thing in the business is exactly the same. That way, if something goes down or something breaks, I have a replacement, all the way down to, as crazy as it is, if my chair breaks, I have the same exact chair in a box ready to get put together if my chair breaks. Because one time my chair did break and I was like a 1 inch difference, and it totally threw me off for weeks. So I'm firm believer of redundancy. Printers, computers, cameras, memory cards. If you have a camera you like, if you have a computer you like, if you have a printer that you like, buy another one, keep it in the box. So when that one does go down, it's the simple and play, and you're off and running, not even missing a beat.
This works the opposite as well. If you're something that you don't like doing, make it harder for yourself to do it. If you have a problem eating popcorn, put the popcorn in the garage. And now you're not going to do it because it's a pain to go to the garage and get it. But if you are adding steps to your process, you're doing the same thing. If you have your listing areas in different areas of your house, you're making it really difficult for you to list. If your entire house is a death pile, because I get that email probably once a month, that's cool. Just clear one corner out, face the corner, and start listing. Because you can't look at that mess and it'll be paralyzing.
That makes a lot of sense because in my house, I have a large space, the office where everyone works. It's probably like 1,500 square feet, but like once I'm inside of that place, Like it's go time, no shenanigans. It's just time to work. And once I leave there, I'm like a whole different person. It's done. But like you said, have a dedicated space where it's time to work, not back and forth around if you can. But it could be as small as just your desk. Like when you're at your desk, it's time to work. That's your space. So that does matter a huge amount because it's so easy to get sidetracked with everything.
It's so easy. And it takes you 20 minutes to refocus once you have a distraction. That means if you get distracted 3 times in an hour, you didn't do anything that hour. That can't
Good.
happen.
Oh,
So it's
good, man.
important, have all the supplies in place. I call it reset the zero. So right now, because we switched to sort of a per item goal, so I let my workers know, okay, if we're not done, are you guys okay with staying longer to knock it out? I'll give you guys the same respect. If we finish early, you can go home early. But I would like to complete 180 listings a day before we leave. Set that goal up, and I want the workspace to look the same. So when you show up tomorrow, it looks the same so we can start over again. I know Tech, you do that, and that accountability is nice because if you teach them that, they're going to expect the workspace to be identical the next day.
Yeah, everything is absolutely identical before I go to the warehouse in the morning. Everyone's station is set up. Everyone has a fresh memory card. Everyone has a fresh piece of paper where they're going to write the flaws. Everyone has a fresh stack to go. So they just have to show up, take photos, and then just list. Everything is easy. Nothing ever changes. And if you can be that dependable to, they just have to show up and work, and that's all they have to worry about, then that's probably a large percentage of the battle when it comes to productivity. If you come in and things are scattered, things thrown about, every day is different. It's going to be hard to get into and hard to be on a daily basis.
Today, one of my listers said, "I need you to go to the store right now and get me the same pair of scissors as the other lady," because we actually cut off that thrift store tag, and the scissors are different, and it literally threw her off. As simple as that. She's like, "This is not what I'm used to. I'm trying to," she basically said, "Get it together. I want the exact same setup as the other lady." So it makes sense. We have the two of everything is nice. I like the survival thing. Two is one and one is none. If you lose the one way that you do it, you're in trouble because you got to, again, waste another half day doing it. And if you have two things that are screwed up, you lost your entire day to trying to set up something. And this is important because you really just need to be consistent. 10 items a day will honestly change your life if you do that for a whole year.
Yeah, definitely. I believe in that.
So another question, someone asked the process of training someone to source for you. We're not going to give away all the secrets in the first part, but we can give you some overview and then we'll go more in depth later. Tech, you have a couple people who shop for you. Any tips or tricks to set that up?
I guess the best tip that I could give is if you say you're going to buy X's, be and or word and have the money back up what you say. So everyone who supplies me, when I meet them, I say, hey, I can buy 1 piece, 10 pieces, 100 pieces, or 1,000 pieces per week. However many pieces you can bring me, I will buy it. So I'm not going to have these guys stack up 1,000 pieces and they bring it to me and I say, hey man, had a tough week. I can only buy 200 pieces this week because now they have 800 pieces that they have nothing to do with that they source specifically for me. And that is a real quick way to lose your credibility and then lose the person who's working for you. Because at the end of the day, these guys who are sourcing for me, they source exclusively for me. Essentially, they're working for me. They are essentially 1099. They're contractors. They work on their own time, but they have no other form of income outside of me. So, if I tell them next week, say, hey, I got too much stuff, can't buy from you for 1 month. I can't expect to pick up the phone in 1 month and call them and say, okay, I'm ready, come back. It's not really how it works. So, rule number one, just be a man or a woman of your word. If you say, I'm good for 100 pieces, then be good for 100 pieces. If you say, bring me all of this brand, I'll buy all of this brand. Again, be a man or a woman of your word and buy all of that brand. A couple of the other things, like I've had good luck with recruiting people who buy women's clothes and they don't want men's clothes. So I kind of talk to them and say, you're already there. touching the men's clothes, you know the good brands. Pick up the men's clothes for me, and whatever you pick up for me is extra because you're already getting the items that you want for you. So whatever you get for me is already extra. You're already there. You're already making money. So that's probably like one of the best tips that I can give is find someone who goes already, and whatever they find for you is just extra. If it's that, and it always stays affordable for you.
So this is a great thing that I'm testing out today. I had two lady pickers with me. They one's my photographer, the other one's the describer. I would like them to provide a little more job security for themselves, and I'm like, hey, on the weekends, if you guys want to go garage sailing, if you want to go thrifting, you know exactly what's in my store. Come with me today, and we'll look at the brands. You pick it up, and here's the thing: every single answer is it depends. Not all, even Gucci. There are Gucci items you would not pick up because the condition is too raggedy or it's damaged. And there are certain brands like let's use an example, J. Crew. I haven't heard of anybody getting in trouble for selling pre-owned J. Crew ever. Never happened. It's available in every single state. It's an incredibly popular US brand. You could get it for 50 cents at a garage sale. You could pay all the way up to $7 for a nice piece at a thrift store, probably. But still, not all J. Crew works, right? Some it depends on condition, it depends on stains. Usually, when you find a good brand, be careful. So today, like a lady picked up an Escada piece, which is a nice brand, and I was like, make sure to check if there's any damage, tears, or rips, and there was. A lot of Polo Ralph Lauren, where I'm at, is only donated when a guy spilled ketchup on it. So it's like you got to make sure that fits certain criteria. And I actually had Monica, who's listening right now, her voice is playing in my head, which is the 1% of what you're looking through gets chosen. So I was rejecting these women for like 4 hours straight. Like, no, 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 no. And it was really funny because one of them said, I don't think two women have ever been rejected that many times in a 4 hour period ever. Because I just said no to almost everything. So they were going through the brands. Like Madewell is another good brand for women's. But again, not all Madewell. It just depends on what it is, condition. And another thing I learned from tech is sometimes stains are fine. So there's not even a rule that says if it's torn, don't buy it. It takes a long time to build a Rolodex of what sells.
Yeah, it all depends on the piece, especially for vintage. Like I listed a Harley shirt today from 1989. It was a 3D emblem. It's totally thrashed. It has holes, fades, stains. Still gonna sell for over $50. So like distressed is a look that some people like, and you can't have the same shirt in Tommy Bahama that has holes, stains, faded. It's not gonna sell the same, but there is a market for worn items and distressed items.
Alex is in the chat is asking, why did we do a Facebook group instead of a Discord group? I have a couple of reasons. Discord groups are very distracting. If you don't know what you're doing and you get into a Discord group, it's like 70 people talking at the same time. The purpose of our Facebook group is actually for you to post what you're working on and everybody else chimes in. It's not constant over barrage of information. And I find that for most people, they're actually paralyzed by that. All you need to do to be successful is develop a listing habit. That's it. So there are discords for information flow. That's not what our group is because most of you in the group already know what you need to do. So it's not even, there's no new information. If information was the reason, or if information was the answer, we would all have six packs and be rich. It's not information. Everybody already knows what to do. They just don't do it. So we're just about building that consistency and narrowing it down because I've been in all the Discord groups. I've tried them. It's really hard to maneuver when 70 people are talking at the same time. It's really hard. It's for video games.
I'm too old for Discord. I don't even know what it is. So that's why we did Facebook.
Yeah, it's too hard. Dario's asking, what's the importance of accountability?
Accountability is probably one of the most important things when it comes to working for yourself. I mean, some people, self-starters, they can hop out of the bed and they can be off and running all day and accomplish everything that they need to do. But not everybody is like that. Some people need to be a part of a tribe, a part of a group. and it's just different personalities with different people.
Susan is asking, what do we do for promoted listings? What rate?
For me, I do 10% promoted listings. May seem like a lot, but my cost of goods is pretty low. I still have a pretty good average sale price. So last year, probably somewhere between 30 to 40% of my sales was through promoted listings. And it was an extra $500,000 that I paid $50,000 in promoted listings fees. So to me, it makes sense to do 10%. But again, that's based on margins and, based on your particular pain point. But for me, 10% works.
I am at 7%, but I think that in my category of jeans, it's like 6.5%. So it depends on your category. If I was selling vintage Pelicans, I might promote a 50%. Because like what happens is, this is a part of promoted listings that people forget. eBay will suggest your promoted listings in the middle of other listings. People only think about the search rank. Search rank is one piece of it. But if you have a really high promoted listings rate and really high margin, they'll start recommending it to people who are not even interested in it because they want to get that commission. So don't just think about placement. eBay is smart. They want their money. If you put a really high promoted listings rate in it, they will show it to people because they get a big payday if it cashes out.
Yeah. And remember, if someone clicks on your item, they have 30 days to pay for it and you still get charged the promoted listing percentage. So
Yep.
they click on it today and pay in March, and you're still going to get hit with that fee.
So Shani, the way to investigate in your category, in my opinion, is once per month, change the promoted listings rate, and then name the promoted listings campaign that rate. So I have 0.9, I have 1, I have 1.1, I have 0, I have different campaigns. And what I'm doing is I'm using store category to differentiate my store to get an idea of which ones I'm testing which. And rare items don't actually need promoted listings, in my opinion, because there's so few of them. You could say no returns, I'm charging for shipping, no promoted listings, terrible pictures, still could sell in one day because it's so desirable and rare.
Yeah, correct. And when you do set up your promoted listing campaign, it's going to preset to the trending. And there's no definition for what trending is on eBay. That could just be eBay trying to boost it up a little bit, but that's tell you their definition of the trending rate. So take that for what it's worth.
So I'll give you one of the worst categories on eBay, and no one really sells in this category, you would think, which is just like a basic plain women's blouse. Uh, not a good brand, one color. Let's say it's size extra small, so it doesn't fit a lot of people. If you were to promote that at 90% and you did 99 cents free shipping, you still might not sell it. It's really important to think about what you're selling because you can play every game and every trick in the book, but if you're not listing stuff that already sells. That's why it's important to niche down. If you should know in your category what sells. That way you can continue to source that stuff and your business becomes more efficient.